Hi everyone, it's Joey Remenyi here from seekingbalance.com.au. Today I want to talk a little bit about some of my new theories and ideas that are swirling in my world, and I've been introducing them to my Rocksteady community, and I'm in the process of developing a new program that I'll invite you to when it's ready. And I'm really interested to talk about, as human beings, how we digest life. And when I say how do we digest life, I mean when I really zoom out and look at the micro, the smaller, the unseen, the invisible parts of our human existence, there is so much subtle data that I'm calling it data that we are literally swimming in, breathing, sleeping in. And I'm talking about the unseen relationships between ourselves and all other things. Obviously, we have relationships with people and they touch us deeply and they're meaningful. And when relationships go sour, so much is harder in our lives because of how important relationships are to us as social species. But beyond human relationships, I actually even mean our relationship to ourself and our body. I mean relationship to our ecological environment, our geographical neighborhood. I mean our relationship to politics, community, to things, to objects, to food. So literally everything in life is a relationship, and all relationships carry data. So you might be thinking, Joey, what are you going on about? When we start to zoom out and look at how we're taking in all of this information and it's actually affecting us physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, as if I'm in right relationship with myself and I feel loving kindness, I feel curious, I feel present, I have a physical experience of softness and expansion and heaviness. I'm in myself, I'm with myself, I slow down. But what about those moments where I'm critical, I'm disconnected, I'm feeling a sense of lack or neediness when my relationship to myself falls a little orthogonal? It deeply affects my symptomatology. I begin to feel tense. I have tension patterns. I have critical thoughts, or my thoughts speed up. On the emotional side of things, I might be feeling hopelessness or anxiety or frustration. So I get all these tension patterns building in. And so it's like, well, why am I sometimes connected to myself and I'm available for presence and curiosity and loving kindness? And other times I'm pulled into this alternative relationship to myself where I feel not good enough or I feel unlovable or disconnected. And I believe it's this data coming in. So as we're living our daily life, it's literally affecting our symptoms, our sensations, our emotions, our thoughts. The way we physically inhabit our body is very much in relationship to all of this incoming data. And, I just want to put in there everything, every conversation we have adds data to our body. Every podcast we listen to, every book we read, every blog we engage with, every TV series or movie, all of the advertisements, like there is so much messaging happening. And even when we're in a relationship with our colleagues at work or our family at home, the things they don't say, that's data too. If we feel dismissed, if we feel ignored, if we feel someone rolls their eyes at us, there's all of these micro moments and micro exchanges where we are collecting data. It's coming into our body, and our body needs to physically digest it, metabolize it, integrate it, excrete it, develop an output where we can hopefully come to the place of creatively expressing ourselves and integrating that information in a way that lands soulfully and from a place of wholeness. And when we have this understanding of data coming in and data going out, and the in between phase is what we feel in our body. So, in any given moment, I have this feeling tone of all of the neurons in my body, all the little nerve endings, trillions of them synapsing and collecting all of this information about my immediate environment, about my global belonging. So we're collecting a vast amount of information, and my body is literally holding the score and giving me clues as to what might be stuck in my body, where are there tension patterns, where there's data that I haven't yet been able to feel through and excrete. So in any given moment, like right now as you're listening to this, you have an opportunity to pause and body scan and actually gather that warm data within yourself And just note, is there anything, any tension patterns in me in this moment that are making me feel unsettled, that are making me feel disconnected to myself, that are making me feel unsafe, a lack of belonging, a lack of worth, unlovable? And these are all the patterns and stories and beliefs and judgments and assumptions and cultural hangups that we are literally learning to empty from our physical body. The body does not want to be accumulating day after day more and more data. We run out of space, and that's when I believe we begin to become somatic and we develop chronic symptoms or unusual bodily sensations, because the body is literally reverberant and shaking and saying, I can't take on any more data. I need to excrete, I need to empty, I need to release. So the question is, like, how do we do that, right? How do we empty the data? So the first bit, I think, is just noticing there is a huge amount of data coming in, all of these invisible, unseen relationships, and everything at some level, intuitively, we make to mean something about ourselves, our identity, our belonging, our self-concept. So there's this process of we are being shaped by the world all the time. As we begin to get to know ourselves, get to know our boundaries, get to know our center, get to firm up our identity, who we are, how we relate to the world, how we relate to ourselves, the more firm our identity, the stronger our boundaries, and the easier it is for data to come in and data to go out. So that's why I developed Rocksteady as a really holistic program to help people really deep dive into who they are as a person, what are their values, what are we getting at when we tap into authenticity, integrity, when we start asking deeper questions and having a broader lens, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, really peeling back the layers of who am I, how am I wanting to show up in this world, how am I wanting to be with myself. This entire process is about developing that identity, and the identity really serves as a shelter, as a home base. So I'm a believer that we are designed to digest life, like literally we are designed to move through war. We are designed to move through trauma. We are designed to move through heartache, divorce, job redundancy. I don't believe we have to be avoidant, and I don't believe we have to be afraid of fear or afraid of evil. I truly believe that we are resilient and adaptive, and we can take all of that data in. As we know ourselves and as we develop the skills and tools for excreting and emptying, we can really quickly and seamlessly come back to our center, be unafraid of the world, allow the world to touch us and shape us. And as we take in, let's say, the clunky data, as we take in all that messaging that says, oh, Joey, you should do your hair, or Joey, you should sleep more, or you should earn more money, all of this messaging about this is what a mother should be, and this is how you should run your business. As I just allow that to come in and I actually digest it and I process it and I excrete it, when I'm in that conscious process of being mindful of what's in my field, what's touching me, what's shaping me, as I'm in relationship to it, I can actually pick and choose the statements that help me to feel my sense of center and my belonging. And I'm able to excrete everybody else's ideas and thoughts that are not mine. So in other words, they don't live in my body, they don't stay with me, and I don't necessarily have to take heed of those messages or believe them. So I think the first step is just to notice that we are swimming in lots of ideas, assumptions, and data. The second step is to start really getting into the body and getting clear on what some of those self-concept and self-stories might be, and the ones that don't feel right for you, that feel not quite right, and that bring on more sensations, more emotions. It's a bit of a window of tolerance expansion. When you start to feel shaky, they're the ideas, beliefs, and stories that probably don't belong in the body. When they're things of feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling worthy, feeling connected, we tend to soften, slow down, and pause, and we don't need to excrete those stories, that sense of identity and self that belongs, that feels sacred. So you could do journaling, you could do tapping, but really lots and lots of body scanning, lots and lots of inner awareness, lots and lots of pausing. The way I often excrete things, so as I'm noticing these stuck places and these tension patterns arising in my daily life, I will often pause and come into my body and breathe. And as I exhale with that awareness, I will exhale out any stories, assumptions, cultural beliefs, any narratives, or any just feeling that doesn't belong in my body. Well, that's not true. The sensations and feelings we want to keep in our body, because that's actually our vitality and our life force. It's really the stories and the meaning we're making that we're excreting. So data in, data out, the body scan and presence and curiosity as really the central engine of the process. And so I'm writing a book at the moment. It's called Invisible Medicine. And the new program I'm developing to go with that is Sensing Ground. And I'm hoping that as a community, we can get together and share our stories of these practices in daily life of how are we noticing the data in and data out. And as I've been sharing some small group call series with my Rocksteady community members, it's really interesting how people's lives are changing as they learn to zoom out and get this lens of, well, I'm feeling what I feel, but having to look at, okay, well, what's come in, what's happened in my day to day, what excess data has come into my body and lodged into my body, and I haven't yet had time to digest and metabolize. And they're learning to pause and enter that metabolic process, to excrete, to release, and to come home more often and more gracefully to their sense of center. I do want to say that when I first started experimenting with this process, as I was writing my book and developing my ideas, I really went through a pretty serious emptying phase. Like there was a period there where I was so full of clutter and so full of undigested data, like years of accumulated data, that it didn't all make sense and it wasn't all clear to me. So I really went through a huge excretion process quite deliberately. And that's something I would encourage everybody to do, is notice if you just feel cluttered and full. And I think anytime you do feel confused, it's a signpost. It's a landmark. Confusion is your body's way of saying, I'm carrying other people's information. I need to release this. So there's a real physical, mental, emotional, spiritual sense of unraveling and unfolding. So I could talk more and more about this, but I thought I'd introduce those concepts to you now. They're very, very useful. If we don't digest this information, if we just let it keep accumulating day after day, year after year, that's when the body gets very tense. It holds lots of tension patterns. We get more symptoms. We get more chronic elusive sensations that no one can understand. We feel more unsettled. We feel more not quite right. Our self-esteem, our self-confidence suffers. We feel cluttered. We feel claustrophobic. We feel frustrated, frazzled. It is just unpleasant. So really getting to know this process, which as I'm describing it, it sounds quite simple, and it really is quite simple. But the day-to-day action of it is where it gets tricky. And that's why I really want to build a community where we can witness each other, support each other, be mirrors for each other, because this process of data in, data out is daily. It's not like something you go to a therapist and do once a week. It's not like getting a massage. It's literally what we do as we're going to bed, as we're cleaning our teeth, while we're cooking meals, as we're engaging in daily life. We are in this process of data in and data out. And I think it's through that micro awareness of how dynamic the body is and how dynamic daily life is. It shifts us out of this static and linear way of being in the world and really brings us into complexity and living as a complex being in a complex world where we are constantly needing to be aware of how we are cleansing and clearing ourselves, how we are coming home back into our center and grounding, and how we are allowing ourselves to actually have clarity, to think clearly, to be creative, and to participate in the world in a more meaningful and authentic way. So watch this space. I'll be sharing more. It's a bye for now. And if you want to jump into my Rocksteady community and learn more about me, visit seekingbalance.com.au. I also have a 7 days of support program, which is a great way to get to know my community, get to know me, and to learn about the body, neuroplasticity, and understanding some of our not quite right sensations and what we can do about it. So it's a short bye for now.